Princess Diana called me 3 days before she died. Her voice was shaking, barely a whisper. Marcus, they're not human. The things that control our world. They've been feeding on us for centuries. That phone call ended before midnight. By dawn, I understood why she had to die. Subscribe now, because once you hear her final words, you'll never feel safe in the dark again. My name is Marcus Kane, and I was Princess Diana's bodyguard for 3 years. What I'm about to tell you broke my mind, destroyed my life, and made me question if we're even alone on this planet. Diana didn't just know royal secrets. She uncovered something ancient, something that feeds on human fear, something that should never have been disturbed. It started with Diana's eyes. Not the sadness the world saw, but something deeper. Terror. Pure, primal terror that made my military training feel like child's play. Marcus, she whispered one night at Kensington Palace, they're not human. The ones who really control everything. They're not from here. I thought stress was breaking her. I was wrong. Dead wrong. The first ritual I witnessed happened at Balmoral Castle. Diana grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. Don't go downstairs tonight, promise me. But curiosity killed more than cats. Around midnight, I heard chanting. Not English. Not any language I recognized. It sounded like the earth itself was screaming. I crept downstairs and saw them. 12 figures in black robes surrounding a stone altar. But here's the thing that made my blood freeze. Their shadows didn't match their bodies. The shadows were moving independently, writhing like living things. Diana was right. They weren't human. My blood isn't just royal, Marcus. Diana told me weeks later, her voice hollow. It's a barrier. A prison. They need royal blood to keep something locked away. She showed me ancient texts hidden in the palace vaults. Texts that spoke of creatures from beneath the earth. Things that fed on human despair and ruled through fear. The monarchy wasn't just a government. It was a supernatural prison system. Every royal wedding, every coronation, every ritual. It's all to strengthen the locks, she explained. But I found out what happens when the locks break. The nightmares started then, not just for Diana, but for everyone around her. Palace staff quit without explanation. Guards reported seeing things that shouldn't exist. And Diana? She was having visions of something she called the feeding. The shadow people. That's what Diana called them. Beings that existed in the spaces between reality, feeding on human emotions, especially fear and despair. They'd been using the royal family as anchors to our world for centuries. They're getting stronger, Marcus, Diana said during our last conversation. The modern world creates so much fear, so much despair. They're almost ready to break free. She described seeing them everywhere. In mirrors, in photographs, standing just behind world leaders during important speeches. Always watching, always feeding. But the worst part? They could mimic human appearance perfectly. Diana suspected that some world leaders, some celebrities, some people in power weren't people at all. 3 days before Paris, Diana called me, sobbing. They're planning something, Marcus. A ritual. They need my blood for it, but not while I'm alive. They need the trauma, the grief, the global mourning. It feeds them. She discovered the truth about royal deaths. They weren't accidents or natural causes. They were harvests. Massive rituals that used global grief as fuel to strengthen the shadow people's hold on our reality. Princess Diana's death won't just be news, she whispered. It'll be a feast. I begged her to run, to hide, to do anything. But she'd made her choice. If I disappear, they win quietly. If I die publicly, at least someone might ask questions. August 31, 97. The call came at 3 a.m. Not from the hospital, not from police, from a blocked number. It's done, a voice said. Not human. The words seemed to come from inside my head rather than through the phone. I watched the news coverage, and I saw things others didn't. In the crowd shots, in the background of news reports, shadow people, dozens of them, feeding on the massive wave of global grief. Diana's death wasn't just murder. It was a supernatural harvest that strengthened their control over our world. For months after, I was followed, not by people, by shadows. They'd appear in my peripheral vision, always just out of direct sight. My apartment was searched by things that didn't leave fingerprints. Photos of Diana and me were found rearranged into ritualistic patterns. The message was clear: keep quiet or join her. But Diana left me something, a final recording, hidden in a way only I would find. Her voice, desperate and terrified. Marcus, if you're hearing this, I'm gone, but they made a mistake. My death will make them stronger, yes, but it will also make them visible. People will start noticing things. The shadows will be harder to hide. You have to tell them. You have to warn them. Here's what Diana wanted you to know. They're real. The shadow people, the ancient things that rule from the darkness, they're real and they're winning. Every tragedy, every disaster, every moment of global despair feeds them. But what Diana discovered about their true nature will haunt your nightmares forever. These shadow people aren't just emotional parasites. They're apex predators that have perfected the art of shapeshifting over millennia. Something is wrong with the new neighbor. He smiles too wide, never blinks, and always greets you before you even open your door. He moved in last month, and somehow, he already knows your fears. The grocery store clerk whose smile never quite reaches their eyes. The politician on your screen who speaks with unnatural charisma. They could be wearing stolen faces, living in bodies they've hollowed out and claimed as their own. Diana's journals describe them as flesh thieves, beings that can perfectly mimic any human form, down to memories, mannerisms, and even DNA. But here's the terrifying part. They have to consume the original person completely to achieve this perfect mimicry. Not just kill them, consume them. Every drop of blood, every piece of flesh, every fragment of bone, until nothing remains but the shadow person wearing their identity like a custom-tailored suit. The feeding process Diana witnessed wasn't just about fear and despair. It was about literal consumption. These creatures are ancient vampires, but not the romanticized versions from movies. They're walking nightmares that require both psychic energy and physical sustenance to maintain their human disguises. Diana documented how they would lure victims into underground chambers beneath major cities, places that exist in the spaces between subway tunnels and sewer systems. There, they would perform feeding rituals that lasted for days. The victims would be kept alive, suspended in cocoons of shadow matter, while the entities slowly drained them of blood, consuming their flesh piece by piece, all while the person remained conscious and aware. The screams that echoed through these chambers weren't just from physical pain. They were from the victims watching their own bodies being devoured while their minds were psychically invaded and their memories harvested. Diana described seeing hundreds of these feeding chambers, each one containing multiple victims in various stages of consumption. What makes these shadow people truly terrifying is their perfect infiltration of human society. They don't just replace random people. They target individuals in positions of power, influence, and trust. Diana's final investigation revealed that they've been systematically replacing key figures for decades, maybe centuries. Think about it. How many world leaders, celebrities, or people in your own life have suddenly seemed different after a certain point? Maybe they came back from a vacation changed, or recovered from an illness with a slightly altered personality. The shadow people have perfected the art of the slow takeover. They study their targets for months, learning every detail of their lives before making their move. They don't just kill and replace. They gradually possess their victims, slowly taking over their bodies while keeping the original consciousness trapped inside, forced to watch helplessly as their life is stolen piece by piece. The real person screams silently from within, unable to control their own actions as the shadow person uses their body to gain access to their family, friends, and colleagues. The most chilling revelation in Diana's notes was about the harvest protocols. These aren't random feeding frenzies. They're carefully orchestrated campaigns designed to maximize both fear and physical sustenance. Major disasters, wars, and tragedies aren't just opportunities for emotional feeding. They're cover stories for mass disappearances. When a building collapses, when a plane crashes, when a natural disaster strikes, the official body count is always wrong. The shadow people use these events to harvest dozens, sometimes hundreds of victims whose disappearances will be attributed to the disaster. They've created entire underground networks of tunnels and chambers beneath every major city, connected by passages that don't appear on any map. Diana found evidence of massive feeding complexes beneath London, New York, Tokyo, and Los Angeles. Industrial-scale operations where thousands of people are processed like cattle. The victims aren't just killed, they're farmed. Kept alive in suspended animation, their blood slowly drained over months while their life force is siphoned away. The shadow people have turned human suffering into a renewable resource, and we're all just livestock waiting to be harvested. Diana showed me the feeding charts. Yes, they keep records. September 11th wasn't just a terrorist attack. It was a feast that lasted for months. The collective trauma of billions of people watching those towers fall, feeling helpless, terrified, broken. The shadow people gorged themselves until they were strong enough to influence world leaders directly. You know that feeling you get when you're scrolling through social media and suddenly you're filled with rage, depression, or hopelessness? That's not natural. That's them. They've learned to weaponize technology, to amplify human suffering through algorithms designed to make you feel worthless. Every war, every economic collapse, every natural disaster, they either cause it or make it worse. Hurricane Katrina, the 2008 financial crisis, COVID-19. Each one was a banquet for these creatures. They grow stronger while we grow weaker, more divided, more afraid. And here's the part that will make your blood run cold. They're not just feeding anymore, they're reproducing. Diana discovered that every major tragedy creates new shadow people. The fear is so intense, so pure, that it literally births new entities from the darkness between worlds. The recent uptick in mass shootings, the rise in suicide rates, the increasing frequency of unexplained disasters. It's not random, it's a breeding program. They're creating more of themselves, preparing for something Diana called the final harvest. Look around you. Notice how everything feels more intense lately? How people seem angrier, more desperate, more willing to hurt each other? That's not society breaking down. That's them winning. They've been conditioning us for decades, making us more susceptible to fear, more likely to spread despair. Diana's final words to me were, "Marcus, they're not just ancient anymore. They're evolving. Soon, they won't need to hide in shadows. They'll walk among us openly. And by then, humanity will be too broken to fight back. But knowledge is power.